Welcome to This Week in Pulling, the show that brings you all the action from the world of tractor and truck pulling. I'm Dan Mayer, joined by Jeremy and Miles Krieger, and each week we'll dive into the latest highlights, breaking news, and behind-the-scenes stories from the sport we all love. From upcoming events, standout performances, and the rich history that shaped pulling into what it is today, we've got you covered. So buckle up, This Week in Pulling starts now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Episode number 12 of This Week in Pulling. Dan Mayer, joined by my good pal, Miles Krieger. And Miles, we're one short here this week as Jeremy is going across the other side of the world here.
Yep. He is currently on a flight. It sounds like, based off what I've been able to get from text, he's currently on a flight between Denver and LAX. He and his son have a short layover there. And then after they get done with that, they will fly to China. They're going to Hong Kong, and they'll be there for about a week or so. And kind of the interesting scenario, you think about, he left Tuesday at about 3:30 Eastern time to depart, and he will arrive in China, and it'll be Thursday evening. So it'll be a pretty long and sort of drastic body toll, I'm guessing, for him and his son as they travel. But Bradley, his 18-year-old son, just graduated from high school, and they're kind of just taking a little guy's trip. So kudos to him, and hopefully they're going to have a good time and be gone and have safe travels. So
Yes.
you and I get to hold the fort down tonight.
Absolutely. So yeah, hopefully everything goes well for that. And so Miles, we got this weekend, we got lots of pulling going on. Finally, it's here. Season is here. And NTPA Grand National Circuit will kick off this weekend, as well as the Outlaw Circuit will begin this weekend. And today the list was unveiled for the competitors there that'll be in Hutchinson, Minnesota. And we've got 6 classes of competition. And, we kind of looked at these this afternoon. What are your takeaways from what you've seen on the list here so far? Now, right now we've got, looks like we got the mini list up here right now.
Yeah. So, I think the common trend and things that we all have learned a lot over the course of the last year and a half to 2 years is that mini division is just going to be quite large, and everywhere we go, there's going to be trailer after trailer after trailer full of them. I think that's a beautiful thing, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that class. And, as we trend towards a Bowling Green type experience here, I think we'll have 70 of those things in August. But, we look down this list, and a pretty awesome group. Some folks who might run with another organization in terms of points, may chase pro pulling points or something like that, still get a chance to come and get some test hooks under their belt that may not be in terms of the points race for NTPA, but there will be a lot of them there. And as we scroll through those and look, there's just a who's list of who might be in the hunt. And obviously they've highlighted Ken Vini will be there, and obviously 3 Theobald tractors, 3 Kester tractors, and a whole list of others making their journey to Hutch to see Mr. Rose.
Yeah, so we talk about Ken Vini, 85 years old, and he is he is going to run for Grand National points again. And good luck to Ken, because he is just we talked about it before. The guy's a legend, and the following that he has is just amazing. So it just hats off to Ken and Rona for, chasing after them points again. And, at 85 years old, I'd hope to be doing something that I'd want to do, in the future. So that's pretty cool.
I just want to be alive at 85.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go that drastic.
I don't know if I'll make it. If my parents are my trend, I won't. So hopefully I do. But, I guess if I were looking at this list and truly evaluating some of them from each class, but maybe as we study this mini class here, you look at Kester's tractors, and he's got one there at that very beginning with the footloose entry, and then the new beast of burden there hooking in that number 12 hole, and then a little bit later in the class with the third entry there. And obviously the Theobalds are spread out pretty evenly there as well. It's just going to be a really, really tough group of about 25 tractors or so that make the call there for competition on Friday. And then we'll see how many of them are all still in contingent on Saturday.
Yeah, because you're going to lose a few of them. I think there's about 5 or 6 that are state, the regional tractors, like the Bicegs, are going to head over to, another event over in Ellsworth, Wisconsin. So it'll, you're going to lose, like you say, about 5 or 6, but hey, they're all tough when you look down through the list there. And you can see pretty much all the lists will be over at fullpull.us. You can go through. We're not going to go through and read them like we have in the past.
Right.
We'll kind of highlight them here and just kind of show you who's going to be there. But the full list will be, over at fullpull.us, and you can check those out and go through everybody over there. So, yeah, we'll change things up here a little bit, and we'll check out the next class here and just kind of highlight some of the classes there. As you can see, the modifieds will be running in Hutch this year. They kind of, back and forth as far as the unlimiteds and the modifieds over in Hutchinson, Minnesota. So this year it's the modifieds' turns to be out there. So we can see a good field of modifieds there, and all the favorites are listed there, and all chasing Bill Leichner. Of course, he was the last year's champ, but you can see Brett Payne there with the limitless tractors. They're going to go after that modified championship, and why wouldn't you? I mean, that tractor was an animal.
Yep, I think there's pretty unique names on this list again, and obviously Brandon Simon coming kind of back out for vengeance to try to get back into the hunt. Mr. Leichner hoping to defend the introduction of Brent and Johnny coming in with the limitless tractor, and obviously Mr. Vorison another year under his belt. I think that'll be pretty awesome. And we'll see if Matt Johnson can get everything dialed in with that 1X dirt slinger as well. I know they've done a lot of off-season work again on the tractor to try to just make sure that it is as ready can be. And the combination of Matt and Bill and Shannon and Jed and that whole group of guys working together out of Weldon, Illinois and Archie, Missouri is become a pretty potent group as well. So I think it'll be a pretty fantastic start to the season. And, I think that's a good number. When you look down your list and you have almost a dozen modified tractors, I think that's a pretty nice class. And there'll be a whole lot of parity to it, and some pretty good combinations with 3 and 4, and we'll see how it all lines out.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, you got, from Bill Voorhees to, Brett Berg and everybody in between. So all your points runners from pretty much last year are back on the circuit here. And once again, and we'll move ahead to our next class here. Like you said, 6 classes will be running 7:00 each night here as we take a look at the pro stock list here for Hutchinson, Minnesota, as we see a lot of the, the regulars once again. And we've got a couple newbies we see in there kind of sprinkled in. And just off the top, we see like Denny Brown, Avery Nauman is entered here for Grand National here for this season. So, some new competitors kind of taking that step up into the Grand National circuit.
Yeah, I hope we have 17. I honestly do. I hope that's the number that they have. And that's my goal for, obviously, I think those classes, that's a great number for pro stocks. And I hope all of those guys are able to make the call. I realize that based off of how things are around here, and I'm not naive to realize that a lot of these guys that are on this list are farmers. And based off of what Indiana and Kentucky and Illinois have been like, it's been awfully wet around here through the spring. And there are many farmers who are still actively working around here around me. So hopefully all of these guys have been blessed to get that crop in the ground and they can come and play. And I hope they do, because like I said, many of them on this list are very active and large farmers in their home respective areas.
Yeah, kind of get that jump on the Grand National circuit as it starts here this weekend. As we'll move along here, our next class is once again
champion right there in the number 3 hole, and that'll give him a shot right off the bat.
Yep, there you go. And like you say, you can see all these lists in their entirety over at fullpull.us, as you can check on what class you'd like to look at. If a lot of folks really like to study these, so these are the lineups here for this weekend. They'll have session 2 will be up there at a later time, but right now they've got session 1 up. And Miles, take a look at this super stock diesel class here. And one of the tractors on there is on a boat over to heading on over to Europe. So we know they won't be there. The Bladegraves won't be there, but
yeah, I think there's at least 2, if not 3, that are listed on here who will not be there. But that's okay. Kind of the way the entry process is we're going to go ahead and draw all those numbers and give them their hook number. And if they do not make it, well, then they'll be listed as a scratch on there. But regardless, there's a really deep group of 16 tractors. And there are a few that I get pretty intrigued by. I'm not going to lie to you. That hook number 14 hole is one that I'll circle just based off of some previous experiences over the last couple of years watching that Degenhardt tractor. And they just worked really really, really hard and kind of changed the face of that tractor with some beautiful sheet metal. And those guys have not been able to run, I guess, didn't run the full circuit last year because of some breakage and things. But when you think about them being in the hunt, that tractor has been dialed in and pretty tough. So, one that'll be there, and you look at that very late group, the last 3-4 tractors, you have a brand new debut and Adam Bauer's first pass on the Diesel Super. You bring Degenhardt in, you bring the defending champion who won 10 hooks last year, and Colin Ross, and a numerous time champion, and Travis Slawbaugh. So no comfort for a guy who's leading at the beginning or in the middle of that class.
Yeah, for sure. And, and everybody has talked about the Adam Bauer tractor. So hopefully be able to give you a good look at that one there this weekend in Hutch. Is, knock on wood, the weather looks really good early here. We're, Wednesday night here. So things are looking pretty good, but, we'll see how that goes. But hopefully be able to get both sessions in for Ricky and Julie. They've, the last couple of years, Mother Nature's not been kind to this event. And,
Yep.
They've done well with the crowds. It's just, they say you can't control Mother Nature, but hopefully she lets everybody play this weekend. And yeah, you see Esden early in the class there, and, just a really solid class here of supers. We got some of the Outlaw supers coming on over this year into the Grand National class there, and that'll be pretty interesting. Doug Meisinger with his Minneapolis Moline will be in the mix there, and you see Mike Schultz with his tractor, as well as the Brad Campbell tractor out of Ravenna, Nebraska. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix it up there with the NTPA boys.
Sure. Yeah, it's a deep class. There's no question about it. And Rackner there on the first hook, they've been known to be in the mix as well as we move to what will be an incredibly deep and competitive super stock diesel 4x4 class. There are a few that jump to mind, obviously, when you start to dig through this and realize that there are some really, really tough and competitive guys. I don't know that Shane Kellogg will be there. I hope that he is. He has not run the full points these last few years, but I hope he does make it. Obviously, Marshall DeBrew coming in with some confidence after his Pullers Championship performances, and our defending champion, that hook number 12 there, and Craig Dickey coming out of River Falls, Wisconsin with the Cummins Killer 3. Those are some that just stick out at my mind, and obviously those are guys who have just been on a roll.
Yeah, for sure. And, Jeremy Yeager hoping to debut his new truck, the Trencher truck. And then we talk about Cody Lee with the Kong truck, the big King Kong truck there that he's run a few times here. And he's really looking forward to seeing how he ends up against all the NTPA veterans out there. So that'll be interesting, Well,
I'll tell you, based off of what you and I have been able to experience with Cody Lee, he doesn't travel from Texas just to pull. There's no question about it. And so when he's been there, be it in that 3.6 class or whatever he might be running in, he has been incredibly tough. So awesome to see him make the step and come up and run this deal. And I hope we have him all summer long. I think that'd be fantastic to have him come and run. So, there's a lot of heavy hitters on here. We continually say that, and it's kind of redundant, but it's very true. You can't forget the Godfather and Van Hazley, and obviously what he's been able to do and the toughness that he'll have in that game. And he's right there sort of in the middle of the class. So, as we dig and dig and dig through this season, we'll see how the dust settles in all of them. But there's some pretty awesome competitors in this group, and obviously one of them will rise to the top and be a champion.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move along here with our next class that we're taking a look at here, and should be, I believe the semi should be the last one we've got to look at here. And you can see once again, a little bit short on numbers here, and we'll see how that goes here throughout the summer. It seems like with the semi trucks, they seem to, gain a little momentum as the season goes along, and hopefully we'll be able to see a few more because, they always put on a good show. And, up in Minnesota, it seems like that's a stronghold for these super semis.
Yeah, one of my favorite classes. There's no question. The fans love it, and they put on a really good show. And obviously, there's RJ listed in that number 2 hole with the driver's wanted entry. He kind of just stepped right into that class and seamlessly proved that he can pretty well drive the wheels off of anything, which was awesome. So we'll see where everything settles there. But there's some really good trucks that aren't on this list that, like you said, hopefully we'll see come Toma and then a little bit deeper in the season.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go, fans. That's just kind of a quick look here, the reveal the lineup for this weekend for the Power Pull Nationals coming up this weekend, Hutchinson, Minnesota, as the NTPA Grand National Circuit starts their season June 6th and 7th, 7 o'clock both nights. And we do have the lineups on fullpull.us. So if you want to go and sit there and study who you think is going to be the big winner, then you can go check those out. And we've got a special guest here tonight with us, and we've also got, we talked earlier about the NTPA starting this weekend, but also the Outlaws starting this weekend. And we're going to bring in Mr. Ron Stone. And Ron, was grabbing something good to eat there? Or?
Man, you caught me off guard.
That's okay.
How longer you were going to go?
How's it going, bud?
Going good, man. Going great.
This weekend. Yeah, I was going to say this weekend got Ravenna, Nebraska going, and Outlaws kicking things off. How's the season looking?
We're thinking that this first pull is going to kind of set the tone for the season, and just totally jacked for this pull, man. It's we got our mod tractors out there, the 2-wheel drives, pro stock 4-wheel drives, pro stock, limited pro stock. A lot of entries already on the app. Of course, we have the Outlaw Pulling app, and a lot of pullers that haven't even signed up yet. So, we're getting close to that 100 mark already. So, 2 tracks, going to be a great show. Starts at 7 p.m. each night. The furthest west we go, all summer, with the exception of a couple years back, we went out to Windsor, Colorado. But Ravenna is the farthest west, the national group, as far as the national series that we go. We do have the NSPA Heartland Series that pulls a lot in western Nebraska, western Kansas, Wyoming, and Colorado. But this is our furthest west stop this summer.
So now, for those that don't know, where on the map is Ravenna, Nebraska?
If you go out towards Kearney, Grand Island out there, and go a little bit north, you'll land in Ravenna, Nebraska. Of course, a little farming community there. They have a festival every summer called the Anabar Days. It is in Anabar Park, which is where the pull is. And the pull is part of that. Anabar, of course, is Ravenna spelled backwards. So pretty cool little town, and always have a good time out there.
All right. So how many classes you got going out there this weekend?
I think we've got 11. I should know that, Dan, actually. But 11 classes. I was right.
Okay.
And I could list those off. I had to put my readers on here. I had to borrow Miles' glasses here to read this, but light limited modifieds, pro stock 4x4, the light super ag class, which is a mixture of diesel and alcohol fueled tractors, light limited pro, which is the 466s, super farm, outlaw super farm, limited pro stock, 10,000 pound 5-inch pros, the Alki supers, light supers, super mod 2-wheel drive, and a 7,400 pound modified tractors.
I'm gonna throw this out and then just make sure everybody understands, and I mean this beyond any stretch of the what I could say, but you need to get the Outlaw app, and if you don't already have the Outlaw Pulling app, you need to. It's worth every penny of the $6 or $7 or whatever it is that you have to invest.
It's totally free now.
Well, see, when I bought it, it was $6, and I justified my $6 because I'm telling you,
no refunds, Miles.
Yeah, I want my money back. But folks, that app is a fantastic deal. I watch it all the time in terms of live results updates throughout the course of the summer. And the lineups are usually posted. Like, for instance, if you look right now, there's 4 2-wheel drives that have already registered. And if you dig a little deeper into what's usually the higher or one of the most populated classes in that pro stock 4x4 class, that they usually have, somewhere around a dozen to 15 that run for points. And I think they've already got 15 on that list. So get the app. And tell our friends from the Outlaws they're awesome because they've been way ahead of that curve. I mean, way ahead of that curve for years. So follow along and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think when I first downloaded the app too, it was $6 at that time. And since then, we've made it free. And it's great for not only spectators and fans, it's great for announcers sometimes when you need full information that you can't retain in the brain. And also for pullers alike, the pullers sign up on the app. They do their initial signups on there, and you can use it for destination, like a map quest. So you can get on there and it shows where the gate is the directions are actually to the pit gate. So pullers can use it, spectators can use it. It's a really awesome tool, invaluable tool for us, honestly. And we're planning on making upgrades to it as we go along. You know, with the sweeps that we have with Organics Midwest, we'd like to have results on that as well. And that's another thing it has is points, not only results from the events, but it also has points updates, so you can keep track of the points races as the season goes along as well. So thanks for the kind words, Miles. And it's an invaluable tool, and I use it as much or probably more than anyone else. I'm constantly on that app.
Well, we talked about it earlier, about, having lineups beforehand and, being an announcer, it's great to have, before an event.
Right.
And, we used it down there in Lufkin, Texas last year, and, you knew who was going to be there, and, that just makes it, half the battle right there, so that's pretty cool.
I'll pose this question at you, Ron. How many events will you have the mic at this summer?
Good question. I know we have 43 events, 53 sessions. I'm not sure how many of those specifically that I'm doing. The majority of them, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Put him on the spot, Dano, but he
19,
had his numbers ready.
It's going to be a busy summer for Ron.
3, 4, about 25, I think, is what I've got. 25 events. There's more sessions than that. A lot of those are multi-session events, but 25 events.
I also want to encourage everybody that didn't get to watch the No Practice podcast last week, jump on there and listen to Kyle's interview. You don't have to watch Chase's leg be completely waxed. Kyle was on there and participated and had an interview as well. So sort of highlighting the Outlaws that last week as well and some of the uniquenesses. But, I've been spoiled, I guess, to say that I've been able to go out and be with the Outlaws, and I was even able to cut my teeth a little bit more as an announcer in 06 and 07 and work with Fred and work with Mr. Bennett quite a bit. And so I have a lot of appreciation and love for that series and to be able to get to go out and occasionally catch an event here or there. But I would like for you to talk about sort of the uniquenesses that you experience while you're out traveling and obviously what a loyal following of competitors that you guys represent.
We do. And we like to call, our group of pullers the Outlaw family. Honestly, Miles, we call them family because if you go into the pit area before and especially after an event, it's a family-like atmosphere out there amongst the pullers. Competitors are hanging out, and talking to each other about, and helping each other, which I love to see. And sometimes even in the staging area, you may see a tractor that's, of course, that unfortunate incident where they go to fire the tractor and it doesn't start, and then they're on the clock. You'll see the competitors there, helping them. They don't want to win that way by default. They want to win the right way, but it's a family atmosphere. And that's the biggest thing I take away from the Outlaws is just how welcoming everyone is. And it doesn't matter if you're a puller, a spectator, a member of a crew, you can hang out with any Outlaw puller or team, at any time during, or after an event. It's really cool.
And I can attest to that because when we went to Lufkin last year, Miles, I had the biggest chicken leg I've ever had, fried chicken legs. Dustin Corliss was, cooking, and I mean, what a spread they put on. And I didn't try the other things that they were.
Oh, come on now! I thought you did.
I didn't go there yet, but some other guys did. So, but maybe we'll see. But it was a great time, and like you said, everybody was. You see everybody kind of at Louisville and kind of deal, but to see them, on their home turf, and that was really neat. So I'm really looking forward. I'm going out to Rock Valley this year, so that ought to be great to see. More competitors out there, but some great events, and So what do we got? What do we got going here as far as the marquee events, and one that wasn't going to happen now is happening. So how's that all?
Well, Whitewright, initially it was on the schedule, and the folks that put that pull on and have put it on for a lot of years had sold that property where that track is at in Whitewright, Texas, and Ray and Ginger Miller, and they've done a great job, hosting that event over the years. And I guess the gentleman who owned the property decided, I'm going to do something else with it this year. So, your lease is up. And well, at the same time, Doug Voth and Cody Lee, you mentioned him a little earlier, that has the Kong truck. They also have the farm truck 3.0 diesel pickup. They were planning to have a pull in Lindsay, Texas, about an hour west of Whitewright. And they were going to be in a row. Those events were going to be right in a row there in June, third and fourth weekend of June. Well, when the Whitewright pull, when it ended up getting canceled, the folks in Lindsay, Cody Lee and Doug Voth has the Griffin Growl tractor, inquired about the Whitewright track. So got him turned onto the guy that owns it, and they made a deal, and boom, Whitewright is happening. So we took Lindsay off the schedule, and now we're back in Whitewright. Now, I think this is the 49th year in a row there has been a pull at this track in Whitewright, Texas.
It's an awesome place. I was there in 06 or 07.
Yeah, the one thing I take away from Whitewright, not only Whitewright, but Lufkin is the same way. I can't speak for DeLeon because I've never been there to announce that pull, but as hot as it is in Texas, this blows my mind too, is if you have a 7 o'clock start time, there'll be people sitting in the stands at 3 p.m. Wow. And yeah, right out there in that Texas heat. And the first time I saw it, I kind of reminded them, I'm running around doing my thing. It's like, you guys realize you got 4 hours till the show starts. They're like, oh, we know, but we're not going to give up these seats. So there are some pulling fans down there in the Lone Star State, no doubt.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Now, what about other marquee events throughout the summer there, Ron, that the Outlaws are, I'd say your marquee events, but.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, of course, Ravenna, 2 nights this weekend, 2 sessions, Friday and Saturday night. After that, we have a couple of new events coming up on the schedule. Cambridge, Iowa, the Henry County Fair is a new one for us, and Donaldson, Iowa, those in the same weekend. Then, of course, the following weekend is Whitewright. We take a weekend off there, and then we go to Rock Valley. Dan, of course, you'll be there. After, that gets real busy in there about mid-July to mid-August. I kind of feel like a carny, just running town to town there in the RV, just doing tractor pulls. But, of course, you have Wisner, Thunder by the River is a huge one. Kind of gets overshadowed a little bit by, that pull in Northern Ohio. I don't know what it's called up there.
That's right.
Yeah. What? No, I'm kidding. I grew up in Southern Ohio. I know all about Bowling Green. But Montgomery City is another big pull. Warrensburg, Missouri is a big event. Wayne, Nebraska, that pull is growing to be a really big pull and may eventually go to 2 days. Platte City, Missouri is another big pull right after Wayne. McLouth, Kansas. There in McLouth, that's a new pull for us this summer. We've been there before. It's been a lot of years, but we're back in there. DeLeon, Texas, the Peach and Melon Festival down in DeLeon. Have you been to that one, Miles?
I did not go to DeLeon. No. Okay.
I haven't been down there yet either.
I will tell you, and I don't want to cut you off by any means, but I will tell you that I experienced, the uniquenesses of an outlaw venue are such that, well, at least this is what I learned in 2006, and it's slightly different now, I'm sure. But hearing you tell the story about Whitewright further kind of illustrates that. The first experience I ever had with an outlaw hook was in 2006 in Diamond, Missouri. And we literally rolled into Diamond, Missouri on a Thursday night, and it was a field. There were no bleachers, there were no lights, there was no pulling track. It was literally a field. And by Friday afternoon, there had been flatbed trailers rolled in, and they had brought bleachers in and built their bleachers. They tilled up that grass and that field, built them a track, and we had light plants for lights. And my goodness, for 2 nights, we kicked off the outlaw season that summer in 2006. But then you follow that up and, you have events like Rock Valley, and you have events like Wisner, and you have events that have these amazing facilities and put on a fantastic show as well. And the beauty of that is The fans don't care if they're sitting on a, makeshift, just brand new made set of bleachers. It's not going to be there in 2 days. Or if they're in the largest grandstand at the Iowa State Fair, who cares? Let's go pulling. And I learned that summer. I got to do a little bit of the state fair sweep, and I got to go to Iowa and Kansas and Missouri State Fair, I think it was that summer. And then I got to be, of course, at Richland, Missouri, which was another kind of smaller venue, but a fantastic event.
Yeah.
And so I think that's sort of, I'm habitually bad about it. And I will say that, but a lot of times your events are probably overlooked for the person that's over here where we're from, and they don't really deserve to be overlooked, because fantastic competition is happening, and venues are becoming more and more and more prevalent, and just building and catering to what the puller needs.
Yeah, it's we're growing, little by little, we're gaining pulls each year. Like this year, we're crossing the Mississippi River a couple times over into Illinois. And, if we could take every pull, we took every pull the promoters called about, we'd be pulling twice as many times as we are. But we already push our pullers pretty hard. I mean, they run an Ironman schedule. A lot of our classes do. And, we just can't push them that hard. We've done our best to add a few classes here and there, bring some new classes on. That has challenges as well when you introduce a new class into an area that doesn't really have the competitors in that area. We're trying the diesel super stock class. Cody Lee is involved in that class now. There's another gentleman in Texas that's building one, and I think Cody actually may have a second one that he's going to build. I hope I'm not telling any secrets here. And there are some of those guys out here, around the St. Louis area, but not a lot of those trucks in this area. You cross the Mississippi and head east, and they're all over the place. But we're trying to bring that class in, the 540 Light Pro class. We're trying to build that class. Once we get some of these other classes built up, then, we might be able to push out a little further, and the needs of these promoters that are calling, we might be able to satisfy those needs and get some of our pullers over there. But some other pulls that we were talking about, the Washington, Missouri is another big one. That was new to us in 2024. That's the same weekend as De Leon. That's a pretty busy weekend. Then you mentioned the Iowa State Fair. That's 2 days. We go straight from the Iowa State Fair to Wisner, 3 nights at Wisner. So that's 5 days in a row right there, starting on a Tuesday at the Iowa State Fair, Wednesday at the Iowa State Fair, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Wisner. Unionville, Missouri, Buckner, Missouri, big weekend. Bedford, Iowa, a new one for us last couple of years. Spencer, Iowa. Then, of course, we end the season down in Texas, Lufkin, Texas, which, Dan, you were there last year. And that pull just continues to amaze me each year, how much growth it has in the spectators. It's like it almost doubles its spectators every year. It's just a huge, fun event. I think you could attest to. We had a good time there.
Oh, for sure. And from what they were telling me, it more or less started as that, the diesel drag racing,
yeah,
and it's kind of worked over into where the pulling now is taken over the top billing there at that event. And, that's really cool how that happened. But, I was going to ask you too about, you guys are going up to Freeport, Illinois, with the modified tractors, and,
right.
The ITPA has kind of adopted those rules with the 2-engine modified class, and that'll be interesting to see how that'll all work out there, and see if you guys, gain a little bit of momentum up there in Illinois this year.
Yeah, the little birdie told me there's going to be a lot of modified tractors there, of course. The Sullivan, Donnie told me that they had planned on going, and of course there's a lot of good mods in Illinois that you guys know, and those guys are coming, and that is a double purse pull for us in that modified tractor class. We're doubling the purse, and there's an optional jackpot that they're throwing in. It's a $2,200 pay-in or buy-in. It is optional. Now, this is separate from the purse. If there are 10 entries, it pays 5 spots. Winner gets $10,000. If there are 20 entries, it pays 10 spots. Winner gets $20,000. If by chance there would be 30 entries in that class, it would pay 15 spots and $30,000 to the winner. So if any mod tractors out there, teams are wanting to get into that, StevensonCountyFair.org is where you would go to find the rules to that and buy in there in that jackpot. So it's $2,200 buy-in, but pretty cool deal. I mean, of course, with the Farley Pull coming up, no shortage of entries in there with that $2,500 buy-in.
Yeah, that's and we've seen here, in the last couple of weeks here, it seems like some more events are, kind of spawning up here with that same kind of, the buy-in kind of deal, and we'll see where it goes. That's who knows? That might be the wave of the future here for some of the bigger events. And, how it goes, but it's pretty cool to see. And that's one of my favorite classes. There is that 7,400-pound. 2-engine modified class. They put on a show, and we saw that at the Pullers Championship just a couple weeks ago. That they were the class of the weekend. I thought for sure.
Yeah, they put on a good show. I watched that show on the live stream and enjoyed that class there for sure.
So I guess I'll pose this question at you. I'll put you on the spot, but somebody's looking for a weekend destination or a sweep with you. What would be one you'd recommend? And obviously, we always have ours that folks will always say the Tomas and the Chapel Hills and the Bowling Greens of the world. But let's talk about that sort of best kept secret one on the Outlaw schedule.
Destination event. Well, I'd have to say Ravenna, Nebraska coming up this weekend. I mean,
you better pack your bags, folks. You got to leave tomorrow.
That's right. You got 3 days. Obviously, we talked about Lufkin, Texas. We talked about Rock Valley, Thunder in the Valley, which is 3 nights this year. Normally it was Friday, Saturday with 2 sessions on Saturday. Really made that Saturday tough. It was like one great big long session, honestly. Sometimes 200 hooks there. You're trying to get a session in on Saturday afternoon. Then you get out there, go basically for the announcer, you run back to the RV and you clean up real quick and change your shirt and change your hat and grab your notes and run back up there, and you're about ready to start, the evening session. So they're doing 3 nights this year. City is doing a lot of cool things there in Rock Valley this year. They're having a pedal pull for the kids, some things going on in the park. So the city really getting involved this year as well. Thunder by the River, Wisner, Nebraska, 3-night event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Huge event for the town of Wisner, Nebraska. And pullers come from all over, fans come from all over, lots of camping. If anything, they add more camping spots every year and they run out. So, more people coming each year. So I would call that a destination event. Lufkin, Texas, destination event for sure. Those are the ones that, off the top of my mind, that I think of that where people can come in and camp and enjoy the whole weekend and kind of chill out during the day and go around town and check out the restaurants and the different things in the local areas there. So those are the ones that come to mind.
Boy, Miles, that marathon Saturday session, huh? Does that sound familiar? We've been through a couple of them, haven't we?
Yeah. And I kudos to Rock Valley for noticing that and seeing that. I don't have very many events I would categorize. I would say it's bucket list events for me that I just want to go have the microphone at, but that is one. And good friends Jeremy Nelson and Craig Corzine went out there 2 summers ago and spoke incredibly highly of the event and loved their experience there as well. And for me, I think we all have these ones we want to go do. That's one I want to do for sure at some time and be there. But I'm going to pose this question at you as well. You mentioned this just a little while ago about how hard you run with scheduling. And I think you guys are oftentimes at the forefront of rules and putting rules in place that will encourage longevity and encourage sustainability in those classes. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, because the 5.0 Pro Stock class and some of these other classes that are out there already starting to come really they really started to begin with you.
Yeah. The 5-inch Pro, the Outlaws pioneered the 5.0 Pro class. And for those that, what the cost is to get into the big Pro. The big pros, I love them as much as anybody else does. And I just can't imagine, what the guys put into these things and the risks they're running with these machines. But there has to be a place for, somebody in between that limited pro and that big pro, you know what I mean? So that 5.0 Pro kind of fits a niche area there and has really grown in popularity here the last couple of years. And that limitation, that 5-inch pro stock, a lot of these guys, Cody Yart, for instance, said he didn't do much to it between one season to the next. Sometimes it just, no metal in the filter, everything's good to go. So, they're durable and they're not pushing the machine beyond, any limitations there where, your big pros, they're really pushing that engine to the max and then some.
Yep.
But I love the big pros, but the 5-inch pros. One thing you have to, when you're in an area too where you're not as populated, we're not as populated in the Midwest as you guys are back east. So you're going to obviously have more people around, more pullers to choose from. You have to be careful if you're pushing pullers hard. Let's take diesel super stock, for example. If you have a limited number of those teams pulling in that class and you lose half of them in a weekend, the next weekend that promoter gets a little bit nervous, so it kind of puts your promoter in a bad spot, puts the organization in a bad spot. So sometimes not a bad idea to find, some common ground and kind of limit things a little bit. So yeah, the 5.0 Pro definitely is a success story, I think, for the Outlaws.
I agree.
Yeah, that was, and like you said, that was the idea behind it was, for you guys making all them hooks, you got to have vehicles to go to those events. So, that's
sustainability.
That's the way to do it. Now, Ron, you've had, Miles and myself on after the farm show. We've talked, the last few years, after the farm show. But tell us, how did you get started? I mean, you kind of know our background, but I really don't know too much on your background. I know you're Ohio there, Southern Ohio, but how'd this all get rolling?
Grew up there in Southern Ohio, a little track called Taze Valley. You guys have probably heard of it and seen some stuff about it on social media. But that track was about, 3 or 4 miles from where I grew up there in Southern Ohio. And my dad was a member of that club and helped put those events on. Of course, I spent a lot of time there. And I say this a lot, but that was my Disney World, was going to that pool. They had 3 big events, weekend events every summer. And nothing was better than that to me. I growing up on that, it got in my blood. Early 2000s, I was in a volunteer fire department in Kansas, out in western Kansas, and they had a mud run as a fundraiser every year. And I said, "Hey, you guys ever think about having a truck and tractor pull?" They're like, "Well, no. What do we do?" So I set it up, and we had a pull, and all these guys with these old farm trucks were like, "Man, if you come up with some rules, we'd come pull a lot." So that's what I did. I drew up some rules, and next thing you know, within about 5 years, all these rusty old farm trucks were some pretty nice looking and very competitive machines. My truck included. I had a truck myself that I pulled, and did that from 2002. I was the president of that club till 2010. After 2010, I asked to step down, let somebody else take over the reins. I wanted to just pull a little bit and have fun and take some of the stress off. And in the meantime, I was announcing for the Missouri State Tractor Pullers, was their announcer, doing some PPL hooks and Outlaw hooks and Nebraska Bush. And I kind of say I was a free agent at that time. I just kind of went around and pulled, different promoters would call me to go announce shows and stuff. Did some demo derbies and some mud runs, but mostly tractor pulls. And after doing a few outlaw pulls, Kurt Van Beek asked me to come on board and just do it full time, be the full time announcer and be the vice president and do scheduling and things like that. And so I took it and ran with it, and it's been a ride ever since.
Now, how many years, Ron, you've been with them?
That was I started it was November 1 of 2019 that I went full time with the Outlaws. I'd done several events, announced with Fred Petch a couple times, announced with Dave Bennett, a few times, and Dave, I got his seal of approval. Let's put it that way. He told Kurt, he said, he's all right. I guess you can hire him. So
the passing of the torch, right?
Passing of the torch.
Passing of the Dave torch there. Good deal.
So Dave and I struck up a friendship too, and sometimes those long drives when you're all alone coming back from way out, let's say Ravenna, Nebraska, and you're driving home, I'll call Dave, and next thing you know, it's like, wow, Dave, it's been 4 hours. I probably should get off the phone, and I'm almost home. So get a couple announcers on the phone. You guys know
true,
you can talk about anything forever.
That's true.
Yep.
But, yeah, good deal. Well, I hope everything goes well this weekend for, Ravenna. They get both hooks in and get the season underway. And that's, 7 o'clock Central Time, both nights?
Both nights. Yep, that will be on Full Pull Live as well. So, log in and watch. It should be a great show.
All right. Well, Miles, you got anything more for Ron? Or we'll let him go back and get on the road here he's got to get rolling.
Thanks for joining us at sort of short notice. Certainly appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Ron. We'll see you. All right. So Ron Stone joining us here from the Outlaws as they've got their big weekend opener coming up here, and lots of action this weekend on Full Pull Live. Going to have 6 events. Got Hutchinson, Minnesota, both Friday and Saturday, as well as Ravenna, Nebraska. Then got the 2 Wisconsin tractor pullers, Stanley, Wisconsin, and then the showdown in Kurdtown in Ellsworth on Saturday night. So lots of action. You can be a great weekend to see how the other organizations are going, and hoping for good weather. Really, that's the big thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, it's always exciting time. And then it seems like we'll blink our eyes and it'll be August, and we'll all be wishing we were slowing down a little bit so we could actually be at more pulls. So I think that's the kind of time of the year and the part of the season that we're in, is some of these folks have been to the dyno, and some of these folks have already gotten out and made some test hooks. And now it's time to dial in and be ready to go. Yep.
For start crowning another batch of champions is, on the NTPA side, now everything leads to Urbana, Ohio, for the Enderley there to crown the champions now. So, of course, we talked about that last weekend there with the big announcement there with the NTPA. But, it's going to be an exciting season ahead. And, next couple of weeks here, we'll touch on the PPL circuit. They're going to get rolling here in just a little bit as well. And, all kinds of great action. And, we just say, if you can't be there, check out Full Pull Live and all the great events that are going to be on that throughout the summer. Over 130 events will be broadcast throughout the summer on the Full Pull Live. So make sure you do check that out. And well, Miles, I think that about does it here for episode number 12, unless you've got anything else.
No, just looking forward to it. Been trying to catch up and do a little research and get ready for Farley. I guess that's one of the beautiful aspects of this particular event is we know who's coming. We know their order already. So we can kind of hone in and dial in that a little bit more and get excited as we get ready to go. This will be my first trip out there. So, next week we'll talk a little bit more about what's coming and how close we are. And obviously we're going to get to recap what happened for the kickoff here at Hutch and what happened with the folks at Ravenna, and have a little conversation there. And then, Jeremy's still going to be kind of in Asia, or on his way home from Asia.
In Reuter, he's going to gain a day, right? Isn't he going to gain a day coming back? So he does. He does. He's going to lose it, but then he's going to gain it back. So it's a lot of great action this weekend. And like you say, Miles, kind of all gearing up to that the big one next weekend there, the 50,000 to win. And talking to RJ here back and forth, got some great things planned, and we'll see. It might be a little late to get him on, but we'll talk. We'll see if we maybe can get him on for just a little bit there and tease some of the things that are coming that way. But it's going to be a great event. And like I say, if you can't join us, make sure you do check out Full Pull Live. And with that, we'll sign off here for episode number 12. Make sure you do check out Full Pull Picks as well, as they will have a full arraignment of different games this weekend for all the events coming up. So, if you can't make it to a pull, make sure you do tune in, and we will see you all next week then.
Thanks, bud.